as part of our continued efforts to reach the African and other ethnic communities in the United Kingdom with greater impacts and create the platform to hear your silent and unheard views in this hugely growing community in the United Kingdom, our channel, Ben TV, presents to you another live current affairs television program. Our focus on the program is to review and discuss issues around the diaspora community in the UK. The program offers you that unrestricted voice on issues affecting you in the UK. Join us live every Monday at 10 a.m. All right, thank you for joining us on the program Dialogue in Diaspora this beautiful morning. My name is Tunde Alabi. It's a pleasure to have you join us on the show today. Today we'll be taking a look at the business side of intergovernment policies, and I'm now joined by John Howell MP and OBE, and he is the MP for Enley and also the Prime Minister's Trade Envoy to Nigeria. John, thank you for joining us on the program today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you one more time. The last time we had you on the show is almost a year now.
I know, it's amazing. Where has all the time gone?
In the last couple of months, it's been very busy for you, trying to fight an election for yourself and for your party. Tell us the experience. How has it been like?
Well, for me in my constituency, I had the largest ever vote of people who wanted to vote Conservative. So, you know, in the history of the seats. So it was a very good achievement, and it meant I could concentrate on doing things like promoting Nigeria. And in the middle of the campaign, I came up to London and spoke to a group of British businessmen who are interested in doing business there. So I've kept my interest in Nigeria going throughout the election campaign.
On the whole, generally for your party, how has it been?
Well, I think the first thing we have to say about the election is that the Labour Party did not win it. And that was the third election in a row that the Labour Party had not won. Now we are the largest party, and will form the government. So as far as
government,
we will still form the government, and we will continue we will continue to get Brexit through, and hopefully we'll continue for 5 years.
Talking about Brexit, in your role as the Prime Minister's Trade Envoy to Nigeria, talking about Brexit, how much of impact is Brexit going to have on the trade relationship between Britain and Nigeria?
Well, I think the thing you've got to remember about my job, that it is pre-Brexit.
Yeah,
I was appointed to be the Prime Minister's Trade Envoy before Brexit was on the cards, and I think that's important because what it says is about the sort of relationship that the UK wants to have with Nigeria. And it wants a dynamic relationship, it wants a very strong relationship, it wants to see much more diversification of the sort of goods that we're able to offer to and from Nigeria, and I think that that's absolutely crucial to bear that in mind. What Brexit does is add a bit of impetus to the need to get a move on with finalising those deals and getting them on the table.
Is that a decision taken out of goodwill, Britain's goodwill, or the Prime Minister's goodwill for Nigeria, or a strategic business and trade move?
Look, this is not about goodwill, although there's plenty of goodwill. This is about doing something that's in both our interests. You know, doing
strategic.
Yeah, I mean, doing more business with Nigeria is good for Nigeria, and it's also good for Britain. And the more that we can do, the better that relationship will be.
Why the choice of Nigeria?
Nigeria is such a fantastically large market, and is going to grow even more. You know, some projections are having it with a population of 400 million by 2050. You know, the third largest country in the world. There is tremendous potential in Nigeria, as I found out on my visits to Lagos and to Abuja.
you just used the word fantastic country. That reminded me of the word fantastically corrupt used by the former prime minister. One would imagine that a country labeled by a former prime minister as being fantastically corrupt would not be dedicating an MP of your stand to develop relationship, true relationship, for that matter, despite being labeled as being fantastic corrupt. It's just, is it that a kind of a British way, normal way, or what?
Well, when I was last in Nigeria, I talked to government ministers about this, and they expressed, to their surprise, actually, that Nigeria has been very successful at tackling the issue of corruption. Corruption goes to the heart of the issue of trust that exists between businesses, and that's why we must get rid of corruption in all of this. But they were very, very keen to say that, to their great surprise, they have been tackling corruption, and it's worked extremely well. And one of the things that I think that has influenced that more than anything is the help that we've been able to give for the whistleblowing legislation, for when somebody wants to show up some corruption, and how they can do that without having repercussions for themselves. And I think that is a sign of a growing maturity of the Nigerian market, a willingness to understand that the corruption needs to be tackled, and actually an ability to tackle it.
It would not be wrong to say Britain has been a principal beneficiary of Nigeria's loot for a very long time. When people steal the public money, they bring it to Britain, keep it in the banks, buy luxury properties, and the rest of it. For a very long time, Britain has been a beneficiary of this.
Well, I think what you're describing there is an interest of Nigerians in Britain, and that's absolutely true. What I want
is this
to
about interest, about looters bringing public
but
money to
but I
keep
want
in the
to
banks?
reverse that interest,
Okay.
so that Britons are more interested in Nigeria than Nigerians are interested in Britain. And I think that that's an important point to bear in mind. There is only so much that one can do as trade envoy, but I think it's an important point to get British business interested in Nigeria.
Up to the time you were appointed, Britain dropped from his very high position of doing business and trade with Nigeria down to fifth. I'm sure it's gone down further now. And that was a deliberate decision taken by Britain to not do business with Nigeria. Are you aware of some of the reasons that caused Britain, not only Britain, including America, to reverse their trade relations with Nigeria?
Well, of course, one of the big reasons for that was the collapse in the oil price, because
Even before the collapse of the oil price.
No. It's the collapse in the oil
As of the time
price.
of 2016, when you came in on board, January or thereabout, the trade relation between Nigeria and Britain dropped up to about 5th, 6th position.
Well, when I came
China
on, when
overtaking
I
Britain.
came on board, there was it was after the collapse in the oil price, and the collapse in the oil price has affected the balance of trade that exists between Britain and Nigeria. Now, your president wants to diversify the Nigerian economy. I want to diversify the Nigerian economy so that we don't just have oil and gas companies doing business there. We have companies right across the spectrum, and I think that we are doing a very good job at encouraging companies to look at Nigeria from a whole range of different businesses, particularly, for example, in agribusiness. There's a tremendous interest in what Nigeria has to offer, and I think that we will see some deals come out of that.
The question is still unanswered. Why did Britain, the West generally, including America, decided deliberately not to continue transacting business with Nigeria, so much that China and other Asian companies overtook Britain and the West?
Well, China has its own strategy, and it's interesting. China's position in Nigeria has changed from wanting to encourage the investment that China can bring. The perception that I get from Nigerians is that they now want to keep it at a distance because they cannot change the project once it's continued, and the Chinese don't bring any benefit to Nigeria. They move people in, they do the project, they run the project. What I want to see is companies that will effectively partner with Nigerians so as to bring in enormous benefit to Nigerians and help to spread some of the wealth that's going to be created amongst the people at large.
Nigeria, as of the time Britain decided to withdraw or diminish or, well, ask directly or indirectly is entrepreneurs or investors, British businesses, from doing business with Nigeria. Nigeria was doing very well, 150, 60 million people, huge market, but Britain, for whatever reason, political or whatever, decided not to encourage investment into Nigeria. In fact, the British investment into Nigeria dropped as low as up to £2 billion.
Well, I would say that my appointment represents the big change in that position.
What has changed, sir?
My appointment as the Prime Minister's trade envoy to Nigeria shows the commitment that Britain wants to make to Nigeria in order to develop mutual business. And I think that business includes investment as well as normal everyday trade, I'm very keen to take that forward in my role and to see how that can be developed over the future, because I do see Nigeria as having a tremendous amount of potential.
What are the policies that guide British trade relations with Nigeria?
Well, the major policy is to encourage the development of an open market economy in Nigeria, and to encourage the liberalisation of the 41 list of goods that you can't get foreign exchange for. And when I was last in Nigeria, I raised this point with ministers, and I was very pleased to hear assurances that the 41 list was going to be looked at on an individual basis so that it will be reduced further and further and further. Now that will give a tremendous amount of confidence to British business, because getting access to foreign currency is absolutely crucial to businesses, and we do none of us any favours if we can't get easy access to foreign currency.
In terms of doing business with Nigeria, what are British investments or investors and entrepreneurs looking at?
I think they're looking at an access to the undoubted skills that there are in Nigeria in technology, for example. And when I was in Abuja last, I went to see some embryonic technology campuses that were being developed there, and I think that's a very exciting development. And they also want to help the Nigerian market develop, and they want to partner with Nigerian companies to help to develop other markets.
In your view, do you think Nigeria is a poor country?
No, I don't think Nigeria is a poor country. I think there are parts of it that have very visible areas of poverty. What it needs is an approach to how that wealth is looked after, how that wealth is distributed, and if Nigerians are seriously going to defeat terrorism in the north of the country, they're going to have to offer something that nobody else can offer to the local people, and what that is access to the growing wealth of the country.
Do you think there is an equitable distribution of this growing wealth?
Well, I think that will inevitably come. It will inevitably come.
At the moment?
At the moment, I think there is still more work to be done on
Not
that.
very well distributed?
I think that there is still a lot more work to be done.
No political language, not very well distributed?
No. I'm saying that it is not. It is not. It is not really focused at the moment. It needs a lot more focus. But but one of the things that growth in business will do is to make more wealth, and it's absolutely crucial that that wealth is split more favourably than just going to a few rich people. Now that's part of the anti-corruption moves that the government is doing, and that's why I welcome them.
Liberalization has been, very many people have said, look, globalization and liberalization is anti-people because it results in the sales of public services to individuals for profit gain.
Well,
would that be right, in your view?
I don't believe globalization is anti-people. I think globalization
But it is about taking public services into the hand of private individuals who have got the money.
No, there is no doubt that, in my mind, that public services work better when they are in the private sector rather than in the public sector.
The investor is looking for profit. How will it work better when all he wants to do is to make profits?
No, there is no difference, no difficulty at all in people making profit out of it. In the past, you can't run services at a loss forever and expect the state to fund it.
But public services meant to be for the people?
No.
Without profit.
But whose money? Whose money
is it?
The people's
money.
It's the people's money.
But
government does not have any of its own money. It only has the money that it raises through taxation. And it's important to bear that in mind, because unless you bear that in mind, you will end up in a terrible mess. And if you can establish a much better system for the government and for the delivery of public services, then you stand the chance of developing a modern 21st century economy.
When investors, as British investors or Western investors, are looking to partner with country as Nigeria, they're probably more often in public services looking for private-public partnership, PPP, wherein government controls a bit and a private investor with money or conglomerate or whatever bring in their bit of a catch, and they dominate the system and get a profit and they flee. Would that be a very good business model for the people, for the public, for Nigerians?
I don't understand why you've become anti-profit. I don't understand.
Because public services aren't meant to, they are meant to service the public, not for individuals to gain profit out of it.
You can do both, and you can serve the public better by having the public services in private hands, by providing the private investment to make them.
But government will lose control of looking after these things in the interest of the people.
But it doesn't have to put the money into it. The private sector will put the money into it, in the money that is absolutely needed. If you take the railways in the UK, for example, well, the enormous growth in the use of the rationalised is just a fantastic achievement. And if you think back to what it was like when it was nationalised, you get curled sandwiches on old British Rail trains. Now you have services that are actually providing.
Are they effective?
They are effective.
They are effective,
and they are providing a very good service.
Of course, you know that every single day people complain about the services they get from rail companies in this country.
They complained about them even more before the private sector came about them, and they didn't have the investment in those rail services. And it's that investment that actually makes it easier for people to travel. Is
the idea of government taking over public services away from private individuals reverberating in the UK now? During the election, the Labour Party and Jeremy Corbyn promised to renationalize major public services like the energy services, the transport system, the railway system, and also for that. And that really went down well with the people, leading to the surge in the votes that Labour had. Is this reverberating?
The Labour Party lost the general election.
But they won quite a lot. And
They
you lost majority.
they lost the general election, and they are 56 seats behind us in the parliament. That's
your
a
party also
massive
lost its
amount.
majority.
That's a massive amount of loss.
But
to
your
the
party
Labour
lost
Party.
its majority.
It did lose its majority, and there are many reasons for that. But this was not a Labour Party victory.
The idea of government taking over privately run public services, is it sinking well with the people now?
But that is not going to work when they realise that they're going to have to pay more taxes.
But the people are buying into that.
No, they are not going to appreciate that when they realise that they have to pay more in taxes.
Let's get back to trade and investment with Nigeria. What will determine, you said, upon coming to power, the current government in Nigeria and the drop in oil money not coming in as usual for Nigeria. You're looking at Nigeria's looking into diversifying, just the same way Britain is also looking to take opportunity and advantage of the huge market Nigeria provides. But one of the areas this government is interested in is agro-business, taking advantage of the agro opportunities in Nigeria. But Britain has been reluctant to allow agro businesses, agro producers from Nigeria to come into Britain.
Well, let me just say straight away that last time I was in Nigeria, I issued an invitation to the Minister of Agriculture to come to Britain and to have discussions about this and a whole lot of other areas. And what I want to do is to show him the whole agricultural chain, right from the packaging and selling of products to the production of products, because it's only when you see the whole of the chain do you understand how the industry works. I think that trip was influenced by the British general election and has been put off. But I'm looking forward for
at whose
that.
expense put off? At the British expense or at Nigerian expense? Who put it off?
No. The fact that we went into a general election put it off. But it would be nice to see him here. It would be nice to have those discussions going. It will be nice to see agricultural items that are on the list of 41 subjects that you can't get foreign currency from taken off that list. It would be nice to see that liberalised, because then the Nigerians will be able to make the most of their agriculture, and Britain will be in a position to work with them.
All right. I'm still going to stay on that agricultural business area. Let me take Moses. Moses is on the line. Good morning, Moses. Thank you for joining us on the program today. Good morning, Moses. Just go straight to your question. Moses?
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning.
Basically, nice to see the MP and the Envoy on television.
Thank you.
My question really is, what will you do to encourage more of the Nigerians here in the United Kingdom to invest, and what kind of support will you provide for them in making sure their investment, as much as Nigeria is home to them as well, is protected? So maybe they have a leeway of tax reduction or contribution based on the taxes over here. And then as an envoy to Nigeria as well, what more would you like to see the Nigerian government actually doing in strengthening the relationship between Nigeria and Britain, bearing in mind that Nigeria used to be a colony of the British? And then again, the final one is based on the agitation that people are calling about right now in Nigeria, believing that 1904 situation agreement is creating a little bit of tension today. What would be your comment towards that direction? Thank you.
A lot of questions for you there. Just pick down the one you can pick and go straight.
Let me start with what I would like to see Nigeria do, because actually I think you're already doing it, and that is to make the business of people being able to travel to Nigeria much easier. And the instructions already gone out to high commissions and embassies to make sure that the distinction between a visa and a work permit are absolutely clear, because a lot of British people have been told that they need work permits when they go back for the second time. and it's making that clear, and it's being able to take away some of the restrictions, some of the regulations that have stopped businesses being able to develop there. So I think you're already doing that, and I think that it's too early to give you concrete examples of successes in that, but I think that it is having a big effect. The second thing that I think you should be doing is to look at the. It goes back to the issue of being able to get foreign currency. And to be able to trade normally in this, I think that you can start with the list of 41 objects for which there is no foreign currency available for them, and begin to liberalise that. And that's exactly what I heard the Minister of Finance say when I was last in Abuja.
He spoke about the restructuring of Nigeria. What are your thoughts about this clamor for Nigeria to be restructured, or certain regions saying they want to leave the country because they are marginalized?
Well, I think that goes back.
And of course, the coming together of, I'm sorry about that,
That's
the
okay.
coming together of the country of the people called Nigeria was initiated by Britain.
Well, I think that we have to draw a line under the past. You know, this is not a new colonial attitude by Britain. This is a wanting to do business as a partnership with Nigeria, and I think that that's an important point to remember. It's not a question of coming in and thinking that this is still a colonial power. It is not. Nigeria is an independent country with a proud tradition of its own at the moment. So it's finding out how we can do business together that is the crucial thing there. So you know, I would lay a great store by that.
What is Britain doing to encourage Nigerian investors, entrepreneurs to take advantage of businesses in Britain in terms of access, easy access to visa or business registration or transacting business in the United Kingdom?
Well, it is actually very easy to do business in the United Kingdom. There isn't a lot of red tape about setting up a business in the United Kingdom, and we want both countries to have very good process for setting up business. And if you look at the diaspora here in the UK, you know, this is the second largest diaspora in the whole of the world here from Nigeria here in the UK, and they play a vital role in working with businesses to tell them where to go, how to do business, you know, the sort of things that they need to know in order to be able to partner effectively with Nigerian businesses.
Do you have on your fingertips there some of the immigration policies that shape or determine coming to Britain, if you are non-EU national, say Nigerian, wanting to move a bit of your business headquarters or companies to Britain, register it in Britain? Do you have an idea of what it does require in terms of getting past immigration requirements or challenges?
Well, what I would say to that is that since I've taken up this role, since I was appointed to it, we've seen quite a few trade delegations coming from Nigeria to this country. Quite a lot of Nigerian businessmen coming to this country. So I wouldn't say that there is anything that is desperately holding them up. They are coming here. They are finding good business partners, and if you look around the city of London, there are prominent Nigerians in many banks, in working with those banks and with British bankers.
It requires a lot considering the immigration requirements. You cannot just come as an investor, as an entrepreneur to the UK. You cannot open an account. You cannot do a lot of things. But you're genuine. You got your money. You want to have a business office in the UK, but you can't do that. You can't open an account. You can't do anything. So some of the restrictions they face.
But all of these things are not going to change overnight. But what I'm saying is that they are changing, and they are changing for the benefit of everyone.
How will it change when the government is insisting on bringing down migration number?
Well,
because they're all still classified under immigration.
But the immigration figures don't relate necessarily to business. If a businessman wants to come over here and start up a business, that is completely different to the normal run of migration. And actually, I think I personally would welcome Nigerian genuine businesses wanting to come here and do business.
Right, I've got Dave on the line. Dave, thank you for waiting. Good morning, Dave. Morning, Dave.
Yeah, good morning.
Thanks a lot. Go ahead and make your point.
I'm just trying to question what the honourable gentleman.
John Howell, MP, OBE. John Howell, MP, OBE, British government trained envoy to Nigeria.
Yes. So I was just trying to contribute, and I was trying to question the fact that could it not be that Britain is now showing sudden interest in Nigeria just because they probably take themselves out of the EU or something? Because I'm quite very surprised at this sudden interest in Nigeria and doing business in Nigeria because if we're not going to be hypocritical about things, it's the country.
Yeah, John. Dave, thank you for that question. Thanks a lot. He's saying, is this not hypocritical? Why this sudden interest? Is it about Brexit? Is it about EU? Why? Is this a genuine interest?
Yeah, I go back to what I said earlier in the programme. I was appointed before Brexit started. I was appointed because of the relationship that the British government wanted to have with Nigeria. It is an important market, not just for oil and gas, but right across the board. It is going to be the third most populous country in the world. We can't ignore a market like that. We had probably left it too long and allowed the Chinese to get in.
To overrun Britain.
No.
Let's be clear about that. The Chinese came and they overran Britain in terms of trade, business, and investment in Nigeria, across Africa.
Look, I'm not. This was before I took over this job.
How will you catch up with the huge?
We will
Chinese
catch up with it by the quality of the British business that is going out there, by the quality of the products, and by genuinely partnering with Nigerians. That is something the Chinese don't do, and that is something that we will do. In order to make the business work. So this is not about leaving the EU. It's not about Brexit in itself. It's about seeing Nigeria for what it really is, a dynamic, enormous benefit to the world and a tremendous opportunity for British business there. You know, don't criticise me for not having done this in the past. We've recognised Nigeria now, and we're going to try and make something of it.
Is the trade interest now in the area of goods and services?
Sorry, I missed that.
The trade interest that Britain is developing in Nigeria, is it about goods and services, or about services, or about goods, services, and technology?
It's about getting good business. It's about getting good business.
Good business. What areas of interest?
Right across the board. Right across the board. Now, we spoke earlier about agribusiness. I think that's a very good area to concentrate on. I see a lot of potential there in agribusiness, and I think that's just one example of businesses that I would like to see there, and I would like to see a lot of British retail move and set up offices in Nigeria to be able to serve the Nigerian market. And I think it is by doing those sort of things, by harnessing that potential.
I don't think Nigeria has enough. Well, maybe not really enough, but has quite a lot of companies or service delivery companies like the ones where people go into their stores, buy stuff. But I think Nigeria would need real companies that will help the country develop technologically. Say, for instance, in the area of agro-business, British companies setting up processing factories, packaging factories, and not businesses like Asda, Tesco coming into Nigeria.
Well, Asda and Tesco do a bit of both, so don't exclude them because of their operations in one particular area. What we need are companies that are going to see the real potential of Nigeria and be able to exploit it.
Are British businesses looking? Do you have any at the moment looking to take technology to Nigeria, i.e., in factories or industries, not necessarily services?
Well, I think that your question is a more general one. Are British businesses interested in taking technology abroad? Yeah. And of course they are. Of course they are. But what I'm saying is that they are also interested in taking advantage of the young Nigerian audience that is very savvy with the new technology and being able to help them develop as well.
Okay, now let's look at skills empowerment and skills exchange. You just said about Nigeria's got, in fact, the potentials for Nigeria today is youth. Nigeria has more young people, unlike Britain that has more older. Britain is an aging economy, and for Nigeria, it is an economy bubbling with young people. How is Britain going to help these young people develop technologically so that eventually you're able to take advantage of that?
Well, I would also say, if you just by walking about the streets in Abuja or in Lagos, you will see an enormous amount of energy, which I think is linked to the youth of the people there. Tremendous amount of energy and dynamism, and of course British companies want to work with that and to take to harness some of that energy and to turn it into good businesses that are going to be good for the Nigerians and good for Britain.
In the past, Nigerian students, in fact, UK remains one of the greatest educational tourism destination for the well-to-do Nigerians. They come here a lot. Almost huge $1 billion per annum being spent on British education by Nigerians in huge amount of money. But unfortunately, once they finish their education, Britain has stopped giving people the opportunity to learn and acquire skills from the system. Rather, they say, you finish, go back to your country. How would they go back when they don't have the skills that should follow their education, which used to be there? Work experience is no longer available.
Well, on the question of education, what I want to see is that the best of British education is transported to Nigeria. So that more Nigerians have the opportunity for that education. And I know of a number of British firms who specialise in providing skills, who are looking to move to Nigeria to provide those skills there. And I think that's something that we should encourage. What
about those that are here that spend huge amount of money, over $1 billion per annum, training their children, who probably should take up some skills at the end of their 3 or 4 years university education, acquire some British experience, work experience, but they are no longer there?
Well, that is something that needs to be looked at in terms
of macroeconomic
policy.
Not really within your power to.
It's not within my power to be able to give you an answer on that.
But are you able to make a recommendation that at least the best of students, foreign students who come to the UK who have done very well should be given the opportunity to acquire some skills within the system. Would you be able to make that recommendation to the Home Office?
Well, that is outside of my
As a trade envoy,
my
would you be
remit.
able to make that recommendation to say, look, they should have trade skills or skills after their academic program in the UK?
I think I would always encourage British firms to look for the best skills in the world.
But if the immigration system does not permit them,
I would encourage British companies to employ people who have the best skills in the world, and for us to encourage the brightest and the best to have jobs in the UK, and I think that very much includes Nigerians.
well, your focus should be Nigeria. And that's why I'm talking to you. Would you be able to make a recommendation to say the brightest and the best of Nigerian students who come to study in the UK, who have done very well, should be given the opportunity to have a work experience in the UK? Would you be able to do that?
The brightest and the best are already encouraged.
They are not.
They are already encouraged.
The system says you finish your school, you go back to your country.
No. The brightest and the best are encouraged to this country, and I think that's as it should be.
All right. I've got Ali on the line. Ali, good morning, Ali.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for joining us. Go ahead. I've got John Howell, MPOB, Prime Minister's Trade Envoy to Nigeria, in the studio today, talking about business and investment and trade with Nigeria.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would just like to take.
Can I ask
John
you to speak a
Howell
little
on
bit
the
louder,
agro-
please?
I would like to take John Howell on the agro business.
Okay.
Yeah. Putting the fact that Mr. John is talking about encouraging British business to go to Nigeria, especially in the area of agriculture. He talked about being in the street of Abuja and being in the street of Lagos. But the truth is that when we talk about agro-business, we talk about villages and hamlets of Nigeria. That's where the real agro-business would come from. But did he advise the minister or anybody who he is talking to in Nigeria or is coming to Britain to come and organize or talk about trade relationship, especially in agro-business, about an organized system and about creating or building infrastructure that the British business people or businessmen and women, when they come to Nigeria, they will be able to have an easy facility in order to do their business? Do we have an organized system or an office that will canvass for this trade down here in Britain? That is one. Two, because in every civilized society or developed nation or developing country, you find that there is a particular office or a particular department that is seriously going out to canvass for any kind of business, especially in agro, so that by the time foreigners come in or government come in into the country, they will help them and motivate them and make sure that these businesses thrive and Nigerians will be able to enjoy. Right now, as I'm speaking to you, the agro trading floor in Nigeria is not functioning. If you go to that office in Abuja, you see that the agro trading floor, which is supposed to be at the frontier, like in Canada, like in America, like in Britain, organized agricultural business, they will be able to sell them abroad and get that foreign currency back home. It's not functioning. So I don't know how Mr. John Howell his office will be able to to go into a good agro business. Because if those facilities are not embedded and put on ground for this business to thrive, so that there's going to be an even relationship and even trade balance, especially in agro business. Because right now, Nigerians are trying to make sure that we move out of oil and go into agriculture. But if those infrastructures are not on ground, it's not going to work.
All right, Ali. All right, Ali. Let's go to John now. Thanks a lot, Ali. Do you understand those questions very clearly?
Well, I think I understood them. But the question I have is, are we going to sit here and criticise me for not having all the answers?
Not really, no, of course not.
Or are we going to give me some credit that
We'll
I've
give you
seen
credit.
that I've seen the problem? I know what the problem is, and your last caller has given a very good example of the problem. I've invited the Minister of Agriculture to the UK to see the agribusiness.
The way it's done, the environment.
Sorry?
The way it is done in the UK.
No, yeah, exactly. That's all we've got to show them.
But Ali is talking about if we've got to encourage that relationship between Britain and Nigeria, if we are talking about developing agro business, these items, agro items, they are located in the rural parts, in the villages of Nigeria, where the infrastructures are not there. Are you talking to the Nigerian
I
ministers?
accept that. I accept that there is a lot to do. I accept that in the agribusiness sector we have to get the distribution of infrastructure right. But you know, that is something that I recognise. It's something that we need to have talks about. It's something that we need to have talks with the companies about to ensure. To ensure that they are prepared for that sort of activity, and in order to make it work. But you know, that's what I'm saying. That at this stage, I've only been in this job for about 1.5 years. I'm trying to get these things right. I'm trying to explore in talks about what
And
can
how is it
happen.
going?
Well, I think that we are beginning to explore the real issues, and you know, your caller identified some real issues there. We are beginning to get a discussion of the real issues, and it's only by discussing them that we're going to get solutions.
Are you getting positive vibes from the Nigerian angle? I mean, bearing in mind, Ali spoke earlier on about decadence of infrastructure. He spoke about offices that are meant to handle specific and particular department not functioning well. Are you getting positive vibes from the Nigerian government in ensuring that certain things that are required for that relationship to be productive, to be balanced, are there?
Well, of course I am getting positive indications from Nigeria that that's what they want to talk about, that that's what they want to do. But what I'm saying is that talking about them doesn't make them happen just like that. We have to talk about them to make sure that we understand the problems and to be able to deal with them. You can't expect a miracle overnight. It would be lovely to have a miracle overnight in many of these areas, but these things have to be worked through.
John, what is it that you find very disappointing about Nigeria?
That's a very interesting question. I haven't found anything. I haven't found
I've got
anything,
callers. I've got people watching the program.
I haven't found anything that's really disappointing. The thing that I was shocked by was in Lagos was the enormous traffic problem that there is there. There needs to be a big effort put into helping Nigeria to solve its traffic problem in Lagos, because
Time is money. I agree.
but you know, you have a lovely city there, a lovely coastal city, and it's a shame that the roads are very often snarled up, and it takes a long time to get there.
Other issues?
Other areas?
Other issues you find not very encouraging about Nigeria?
I don't think that there is anything that I
You're
would
happy
say.
with the way Nigeria is being run by the government?
I think that Nigeria is developing and is trying to take advantage of its position in the market to develop
Are you
itself.
happy about the way the Nigerian system is being run by the government?
I am.
Do British businesses talk to you about their frustrations, sir?
They do talk to me about
What are some of these frustrations?
The frustrations are normal day-to-day business frustrations.
That should not be available in an ideal environment that's really ready for business.
And which are changing. which
Are
are
you sure
changing.
they are changing?
They are changing, and I've seen the instructions that the Nigerian.
There's a difference between instructions
No,
and
no, no,
activities.
no. You've got to start somewhere in this. There's a recognition that there is a problem in the speed of getting visas. I mean, you can get visas at the airport, but being able to turn a visa around in 48 hours is a very good move.
So you don't see power problem as an issue?
I think that I think if you look at Nigeria in the long term, there is an issue of continuity that is.
No, I'm not talking about power in terms of political power. I'm talking about power generation, electricity. How many businesses will want to come to Nigeria from Britain in an environment that there is no power infrastructure?
Well, when I went to see some businesses in Lagos, their solution to this was to develop their own power generation on site. Now, I can understand the reason why they want to do that, but that does not take away from the fact that there needs to be investment in power generation as a whole in order to make the country much healthier.
Will British businesses ready to put almost a quarter or half of their business investment into power generation?
I knew you were going to ask that question, and the answer is yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, I've got Rukayat on the line. Rukayat, thank you for joining us on the program. Good morning, Rukayat.
Hi, good morning.
Thank you.
This is Rukaya speaking. Just want to contribute later to the show. Fantastic show, by the way.
Thank you.
I would like to say, I hope the gentleman, John, is it?
Yes.
MP John, I hope he'll be back probably in the next 6 months to do like a review to see how well they're getting on with the trade in Nigeria.
He last came on the show 1 year ago.
Sorry?
He last came on the show 1 year ago. Maybe another 6 or 1 year. Another 6 months or 1 year.
Yeah, because it's quite interesting to see so far what, the Nigeria so far, within, maybe 1 year's time, yeah. And also, I would like to go back to the issue of the students. I believe we all know that fine, we have young people in UK, which, after school, yeah, they go back to Nigeria because due to their visa or whatever reason. I believe it's something that Mr. John could look into and maybe discuss with, I don't know what particular parties or groups that involved with that, because I believe if these students right here, just like you said, Mr. Sunday, do have experience, 1 year work experience, maybe between 1 year or 2 years, it will give these students more idea on how to run some offices, just like one of the callers said. But because most are there, I don't think they have the experience that much, or maybe they're not that exposed. So we believe that the way forward also is those students right here study with a lot of money should be able to take something back home so that they can function properly.
Thank you, Rukayat. And that talks about work experience after graduation, which used to be there, but with the conservative in power, they said, no, you finish your school, you go back home.
Let me address her first point
first, go on.
because that was such a nice point.
Okay.
If it is any help, I'm very happy to come back, not in a year's time, but in a few months' time, to discuss many of these issues again. And she's quite right that we need to be monitoring and assessing things as we go along all the time to make sure that things are working. And that is something that I'm up for doing. On the question of the visas, the situation that I would like to see is that Nigeria wants to employ these people themselves, if I can help to make business better in Nigeria, then I think it's a good thing.
Okay. Would you, before that call, I was asking you if British businesses would be willing to put about a quarter of half of their business capital into developing power. You said yes. Which investor would be willing to do that?
Well,
quarter of your capital.
No.
Into
I think
developing own power.
I think what you've got to look at is whether you develop your own power as a business, or whether you contribute to the development and the taking forward of the power sector as a whole. And I think that the moves to develop the power sector as a whole have to be the right way to go. You cannot just expect businesses to put their own money into developing their own power and expecting the whole system to come right.
But are you taking this over the government? Are you nailing it on the head to the government that if you don't get the power infrastructure right, then you're not going to get a good business deal with Britain, with British investors? Are you nailing it on the head to the government?
Of course I am.
Are they getting the right information from you?
Of course I am.
Body language, that until they get the power infrastructure right, business will never come.
Look, as you know from the way that we're behaving on this program, I'm quite gentle in the way that I do this, but I'm also very firm in the way that I do this, and those are the key messages that I'm getting.
That is the word firm. Are you firm with
I am very firm. I am very firm, and there are some messages that simply can't be avoided. One can try to be as diplomatic as you like, but in this case, for example, I think it is absolutely crucial that the Nigerian government understands that it needs to get its power sector right.
Okay. Another problem I see, are British investors, tourists, worried about security in Nigeria?
About the
security?
Of course British investors are worried about the security. They're not so much worried about the security in the north of the country, because I think that the security around Boko Haram is, if I say it's being taken care of, it is being dealt with. I think that the worrying sign has been the development of groups around in the Delta region around the oil fields, and that seems to be under control as well at the moment, and long may it continue.
I've been talking with John Howell, MP, and Obi, the Prime Minister's Trade Envoy to Nigeria. He's been doing very fantastic. He's been doing very well to attract trade and develop trade relations with Nigeria. He's also been very diplomatic on the program. I've been a little bit hard on him, but he's been very diplomatic in some of his responses. It's been a pleasure. I hope I'm not going to drive you away from coming back.
I hope I will be just as diplomatic in the future.
Thank you so much for coming on the program, sir. We look forward to having you again. When are you in Nigeria next?
Probably around about September.
All right, fantastic. I wish you a very safe journey, and we look forward to having you back on the show when you come back from Nigeria to see how well you are firm and you've taken some of these issues to the Nigerian government and British investors.
It will be a pleasure.
Thank you a lot. Thanks a lot, sir. I'm going to have a short break now, and I come in with my next guest. You don't need to go away. Stay there. I'll be back. Issues affecting you in the UK. Join us live every Monday at 10 a.m. to 12 noon.